Greetings and salutations to beautiful California today. Still sitting in my office chair, getting out of it pretty darn soon, though, from the going to the Travel and Adventure Show this weekend in Dallas, and also having our FTU stage there, actually. Obviously, it's a really strange situation with us being the only show that's going to be there this month. And it's going to be interesting to see how many will actually show up. But that's what's going on in that part of the world. Also, some other news to cover from the FTU front. We have our next online seminar coming up on October the 2nd, which is a weekend with a brand new set of speakers that we've decided to switch it up a little bit and change out a lot of the normal programming to do some creative new stuff. Stefan has been working hard on that in the last couple of weeks. So we are very happy with that. And we also have a November event that these are all up on the website. It's a kind of an interesting one as well, because we're going to have Mark Ross Smith on that one, and David Feldman, and also another guest on November 13th. The program will come very shortly. It will have talk a little bit about status match and things like that. So those are things. So the third and last virtual seminar of the year is on December 4th. So that's what's new in the FTU world. A lot of stuff has happened in the last week, travel-wise. So we're going to discuss a lot of those things today. In the miles and points worlds, we also have a couple of other things. As we are, we obviously have the FTU coming up this weekend, the main stage at the Travel and Adventure Show, but we're also have a collaboration with Travel Dork, where I'm going to be speaking in Las Vegas, coming up the 17th and the 18th of December. And speaking of, I'm going to bring in Michael, who is the King of Las Vegas, coming in from the deep south of North Carolina. Is that the deep south, or is it I think you're on mute. Oh, there we go.
I don't know what it is actually, but it's that's okay.
But where you live in Charlotte, it's kind of turning into a little bit of a yuppie town, isn't it?
Yeah, and a real foodie town. Though people told me it was a pretty good food scene before, but I'm having a great time here. It's really nice.
Yeah, but it's not like just a slab of meat and barbecue, right? This is like all sorts of stuff that they've got there.
Yeah, lots of new interesting restaurant concepts, and just up the block from me, the new JW just opened.
Right.
With a really cool roof bar concept, oyster bar, and an Italian steakhouse. So
the prices are pretty good. I've kind of noticed because you know. Every time you put something in your mouth, it's out on social media. So I've seen the menus that you've been posting in the last since you moved there. And it looks pretty decent. Hey, there's Mr. Leo. It looks
Leo. He's been at my feet for some reason. He's
good. So it seems like the prices are pretty good there, right?
Yeah. No, I think it's great, and especially coming from London, it's definitely more reasonable.
Yeah, and also from California, obviously, also is a gig that's going to. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the schedule today, and we're there. You know, obviously we've got a lot of COVID going on, and as usual, and unfortunately. But let's talk a little bit about what's happened in the last week with Europe. What are we seeing there with that, Michael?
What are we seeing there? We're seeing that the necessity of people being vaccinated. That's one of the number one.
And water is wet.
Yeah, I mean the thing that still is baffling to me is when Europeans are going to be allowed in to the United States. I am really, really baffled about what the U.S. is doing with that, and there seems to be no clarity at all about what they're going to do. I mean, my best guess is that they're going to make a vaccine mandate, for people coming into the United States, which would seem to be the most easy and logical thing to do. I can't imagine why they're not allowing Europeans in, and especially folks from the United Kingdom, into the United States. So I get asked that question so many times a week, and I have given up making a guess any longer. But do you have any thoughts about that? Have you? I mean, I never thought it would go on this long. It just doesn't make any sense.
So as you know, it's had an impact on us, and we had to move our U.S. event because the Loyalty Summit events and all sorts of other fun stuff already. I honestly do not see the reasoning behind holding the border closed, other than maybe we're doing the Europeans a favor by not letting them in here, and the craziness that we have going on with there's more. There's like 10 times more people that get COVID every day here than it is in Europe. So maybe that's a reason we decided to do them a favor. But I'm not counting on that. It's kind of weird, also, especially with Canada. I thought that we had an agreement. As of right now, we've seen the Netherlands and some other countries are starting to do a lot of to make a lot of changes to their stuff. I mean, you now have to show you have to be vaccinated, and you got to have it's hard to keep track of all this stuff. So I feel like we're going to see a couple more months of this stuff, but I do think that hopefully we'll see the end of this wave pretty soon, so we can see. We're going to be talking a little bit about that. We've talked about that earlier. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, you and I, about demand, right? There's a lot of demand. There's a lot of demand for. There was a lot of demand this summer, but the demand for, as I predicted. And you don't have to be a genius to be. Obviously, I'm not a genius. We can all attest to that. But what we've seen is that demand has flattened out, and we're going to touch on that a little bit later today on the news and review. But sure.
But the British Airways has reopened the Concorde room. Concorde reopened
and
reopened at JFK.
Starting to shake up things, so they've now moved to a new type of sandwich. I thought it said there's a label on it where it says protein. That's it's like Department of Corrections, something like that. That's like kind of the way that it.
Well, actually, BA has done some great stuff, and I only follow this because of the British Airways group that I run.
Yeah, you BA.
But they have the Concorde room is rolling out a whole bunch of new cocktails that I've seen, and all the in-flight service is back to normal. Everything is basically normal British Airways, which actually makes British Airways look really good in comparison to some. But it's very interesting. That's come. I mean, I know Lufthansa had. I know we've touched on this before, and I think you were talking. Actually, it's a good entry into the COVID duck. Lufthansa's had complete glassware and food and beverage service, that really never changed very much for Lufthansa during the.
No, I've flown them twice. I mean, the meals were shorter. Were smaller, and they also served everything on one plate instead. Coming with the starter first and then bringing the main and all that stuff. Everything gets put on the same plate. And speaking of Lufthansa, they just predicted that the U.S. will not open until right before Christmas, is what they're saying. I hope they're completely wrong on that, but that's what they're predicting. So they're not. But I had two flights one late last year and one this spring. I had on Lufthansa. One LAX to Frankfurt, the other Munich or Frankfurt to LAX. I don't remember which one it was, but both on a 350. And it was, normal service. It was kind of minus the thing that they come out and they give you the thing. Speaking of, one of the things we were talking about is the Lufthansa First Class Terminal now opening up again, and that's good news, right?
Yeah, but not all of the first class lounges, correct? The first class terminal.
No, I think that some of the first class lounges has been open already. I don't know if everything is open and rocking and rolling, but I do know that that they have opened the first class terminal, which is obviously their flagship. And our friend Matthew Clint, who is a went to celebrate the opening of the first class terminal in Frankfurt. Flew in, got his COVID duck, and flew out. And I guess he got let's see. So Olympic there's duck. One Olympic game duck that they came out with, and of course I guess it's the masked response. I don't know what is he having? Is that the Pepto-Bismol in that little that little bottle that's there? So he flew over to Europe to get that duck, which is kind of nuts. It's like almost things are starting to come a little bit back to normal, right? When
I haven't heard about those kind of trips in a while. I mean, I do. I think Greg and Nick, frequent milers, they're doing a big GU. I guess it's a GUC run. So I guess they wanted to be creative using
I saw
Delta Global Upgrade certificates, which are actually a really, really great instrument. And I guess so they're doing a whole bunch of interesting stuff, which I thought
I learned something. Cool. I learned something new today that they actually have. They're actually valid on Air France. I didn't think you could do that.
No, that's very recent. That's super recent. And Air France is Mr. Leo's favorite airline, and he actually peed right outside of the first class terminal.
From the La Premiere Lounge?
Yeah, that's right. Did you know that in the La Premiere Lounge they have these custom French dog bowls?
I was not aware.
I know,
but so they took Air France in business class to Dubai, which of all places, to be honest is it's not it's not my favorite place to go, but I go there quite a bit. Well, under normal times, and I always come back to what that guy said when we were checking in at the Ritz-Carlton after being in Dubai for a couple of days for business. We were checking in at Muscat Ritz-Carlton in Oman, and the guy was like, with this typical accent, did you ever where did you go to before you came here? I said, we were in Dubai. What'd you go there for? It's just sand. So which is kind of fitting. I mean, it's like Disney World and the mall and no history, and then there's sand. And in Abu Dhabi in specific, I always go into a meeting when I'm there. I always have sand in my shoes when I walk in. It's just the way it is on that part of UAE. But
I've done a lot of research. I mean, people seem to really like Dubai, or it's actually becoming it's definitely a go-to for the people in the UK who can't come to the United States.
Yes, I mean, that's
but basically there are some really good promotions. The Waldorf has a great buy two get one promotion, and this.
I saw that. I saw that we're listing the hotels in there. Actually, by the way, we have. I can't see that for some reason it's not coming up who wrote it, but we have a viewer who has confirmed that the pink bottle that the Lufthansa duck is ivermectin. That's what it is.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. Well, this is good to know. I mean, that's
right. That's, So I mean, Dubai is.
That is pretty funny, actually.
The Dubai hotels are crazy cheap. I mean, I would look at. There was an article in here when they booked the hotels. Here, I think this is the one that they have. Look at this. So you'd have the St. Regis is 205. I haven't stayed at that one. It's a pretty new hotel. but the other ones are like in the 150s and 100 and whatever. And these are all prices that you can book. I need to see that. I think that they book with you guys, right? With your company.
Yeah, and the Conrad is super inexpensive. But you know which one keeps holding price? It's not expensive, but the Ritz, the JBR Ritz. Seems to be holding, and they have the club lounge completely open at that Ritz-Carlton, which and it's been open for a while. So I think it's definitely something that people are considering. But you can do. I mean, the Conrad's ridiculous. I mean, you have some ridiculously good.
But I mean, look at
good deals.
Look at these prices: $32. But also remember, like the prices in Dubai, they don't include that service charge that they plunk on top. So it's 20% more than what you're seeing here. So there is that, or that's taxes and fees and all that stuff. It ends up being a pretty decent jump.
I thought the best deal this summer in the Middle East that I saw was the Hilton, which is not bad, in Luxor. You could get it for like $32 a night. I said you could go live at the Hilton in Luxor with your diamond benefits if you wanted to be in Luxor. Actually, Luxor is a pretty cool place to be. But that was very low taxes.
We were talking about that the other week. So let's follow along. Frequentmiler.com. Follow along with Nick and Greg, our favorite people over there. Always big supporters of the FTU, and our favorite people in that space. Absolutely, just two great characters. I would love to see videos of this when they're out there traveling, rather than these blog posts. And I saw that they were at the Four Seasons having staying there. Was I wrong, or did I see that on social media somewhere today?
I'm not sure if I saw that. I mean, all the rage. I've been finding out information. Have you watched the show White Lotus?
No.
Okay. Well, it's one of the most popular shows on HBO right now.
Yeah, I got that HBO thing because I got that. Actually, it was Nick who got me onto that. I got HBO Prime or what, a Plus or whatever, Max or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
I think it ended up costing $25 for a year because of the offer that that we have. So we are a little short on time, so let's move on to the next subject. How about Allegiant? They have decided to revamp their loyalty program, and it's very centric around their credit card. And this is a Vegas airline. They're based in Vegas. They do a lot of flights out of there. They fly to to be honest, I haven't flown with them myself because it's like really not really the number one airport. It's far away from where I live. But I did go and pick up Marty Pass. He was here visiting a few years back, and he came in for the day. We had a conversation and stuff, and I picked him up down there. It was delayed for many hours. And Stockton from Vegas, which I think he paid like $19 or whatever. But they seem to be changing things now that you get you get a compliment with, if you get the credit card, that's $59 a year. You get buy one get one, which is their vacation package. I don't know. Maybe that's a Vegas thing where you get the hotels included. I'm sure that what we're talking about.
Yeah, well, they really, I mean, they are really working on the stadium and football packages. And this stuff has really been quite successful. And I think I've probably mentioned it before, but this is the first year that you have the Raiders home games, and this stuff is on fire. Those weekends, every Raiders home game. I mean, Vegas is totally booked to capacity, and Allegiant is also packaging and sort of marketing that and adjusting flight schedules.
So that's part of the packages that they have, the Allegiant vacations. I assume that's I'm not familiar, but if it is like the other airlines, you can buy packages which has the flights and included, and then you get buy one get one airfare, which is pretty good. Of course, if
you go, they have a kickoff package, first down package, touchdown package. I mean, these are not cheap packages. I mean, they're starting at $749 a person, going up to $24.79 a person.
Yeah, but I assume they also have hotel packages for those who are not interested in football.
Well, I'm just laughing reading the package, the touchdown package. It includes field level seats, round-trip flights, selection of a hotel, but then at the end it goes seat selection and a carry-on bag. Yes, I just spent $24.79 per person, and I get a carry-on bag and a check bag.
Yeah, and also, but worth noting here that priority boarding and one beverage every time you fly is free when you have the credit card. So it's very, very centered around this card. 15,000 bonus points, sign-up bonus.
Just go to the top of that website. You're at the allegiantair.com, and if you just do /Raiders,
yeah,
it'll bring you to the
people
Raiders
care about football.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I mean, they were known for carrying people nonstop, and they're still known for carrying people nonstop to Vegas from secondary cities.
Yeah,
and they've done really. Vegas is one of those markets where, you know, a lot of crazy cities, and also people have to remember, it's even though it's scheduled service, a lot of times if they have scheduled service from Des Moines, Iowa, or something like that, they will, the junkets, the casinos will buy seats, and the casino host operators will buy seats and package that kind of stuff. Just like I told you recently, what's that other airline? Sun Country. Sun Country is doing a lot of casino, a huge program with MGM. So it's interesting. It's very interesting stuff, but there's definitely a market for it. And people who don't travel a lot and want to go to Vegas love the idea of having these nonstop flights from these.
Yeah, I don't think that I don't think these packages are eligible for their loyalty program credit card, because it looks like hotels are in the package, or the flights are in the package. So when the flights are included, then I would know. I don't know how that would work, to be honest with you. But I
haven't honestly looked too closely at that. I will tell you, rates are crazy on some of the Raiders weekends, the home game weekends. You know, Aria is like $800 a night. You know, Mirage is $500 a night. I mean, and up. You know, even rates are insane. So obviously, there's definitely demand. I think there's this logical demand where people want to see their team in Vegas. You know, they want to make a Vegas weekend of it. So it's pretty cool.
So let's get a couple of comments. The last subject we're going to talk a little bit about. Let's bring in Ed also. I see that his sidekick is not in just yet. So Ed Pizzarello from coming in from the sticks outside of D.C. With his 5,000-acre farm where he has his 15-ton Winnebago and his F550 as well.
I didn't know an F550.
It was a 350.
I didn't know an F550 existed until a couple of weeks ago and saw one.
There you go. Well, now you can sell it and make money on what you already spent for it. You probably get more for it than you bought it for.
I probably would. I'm tempted to do it. If I can have somebody burn the trailer down and get the insurance money for that, then I'll sell I'll sell the pickup truck for a profit.
Michael's from New Jersey. He'll take care of that. He knows a guy.
Yeah, I know a couple of guys. Yes.
So let's keep Michael on for just a second, because we prepared to talk about that, but of course we went a little long. And let's also bring in Charlie from Seattle. The guy he's got a fake library behind him, obviously, because I can see the flickering there. At least you don't have the cat face like that lawyer. You're also a lawyer. That lawyer, I don't know if that went viral here last week with the guy who turned on the filter. How are we doing up in Seattle, Charlie? Good to see
we're keeping warm is what we're doing. It's still hot up here.
Yeah, keeping warm.
And just for reference, that is the Seattle skyline through that fake window over there.
Through the fake window, okay. So, I thought you moved to the city maybe. Lindsay finally threw you out, and you and your 5-ton espresso machine out of the house. Let's chat a little bit about the American Airlines contract of carriage changes this week, because there's been a lot of debate about that. Some people are saying that it's not valid for executive platinum, so it's just that they're getting it in writing. And I noticed that Charlie, you're a Cranky flyer homie, right?
Yeah.
So he wrote an article today about that.
Yeah, I read through a good bit of it. He's very just meh on it, right? He thinks this is just writing down what they've always been doing, or what they've been doing for the past year or whatever. So,
is that so? Let's look at the article real quick here. it's a good thing. It's a good thing that we now have it in writing, so they actually have something to throw in our face, and minor adjustments, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. But what hasn't been talked a lot about here, they're talking a lot about partnered flights. What does that even mean? Is that are we talking code share? Are we talking anybody that's booked on an American ticket stock, or what are we talking about here?
Well, I think the partner language actually comes into play right now because of the partnerships with Alaska and JetBlue. I think they've inherited a lot of connections that are governed by U.S. law. And we all know that, there are obviously ripples of delays when, things go wrong with thunderstorms in Dallas, or, somebody takes the wrong turn at Newark. And I think that these changes are part and parcel of the fact that they have a lot more exposure on domestic flights now with those partnerships than they used to.
That's a good point. I mean, they're expanding aggressively with, I did not expect to see the, I think if people said that Alaska would join One World and JetBlue would get close to American, I would say you're crazy 3 years ago, but that's the reality now. And then you've got two airlines who are, obviously JetBlue's on-time performance is rests solely on all of the garbage they get is solely based on JFK, right? Because that's their massive, biggest hub by far. And then you have Alaska, who is, a very solid airline when it comes to on-time performance, and also they typically are a little bit more, how do we put it, friendly maybe, or nicer and consistent on time. I don't know how to put it, but that's the reality now. But I'm kind of looking at, I see his point now, but now it is in writing, and there are things that are going to have an impact. And if the next thing that would be followed down the road, I can see that in specific situation. I don't trust an airline, let alone American, to come and say that, this wasn't supposed to be valid for executive platinums. Well, here it is. So what are you going to do, huh? Here you are in the middle of the night in Des Moines, and we're not going to help you we can get you back to Dallas in 3 days or something, and we're not liable. And here's your $32 back after taxes and fees. So, I mean, having it in writing is pretty definite.
Well, it is and it isn't. I think my personal opinion is this defines the max exposure for the airline. The reality is that, at least from the rumors that I've heard, elite ranks are down significantly. That's why we see, the airlines moving to roll status over for next year, or to make it really easy to keep status. So at the end of the day, sure, they can do these things. But we also know that status and business travelers are what drives a lot of the profitability of the airlines. And
86% of the profits from flying comes from business travelers, and they are only 17% as of in 2019. Only 17% of the passengers were business travelers.
Yeah, I was going to say those profits came from business travelers. Whether they will in the future remains to be seen.
Yeah.
But I think this allows them to limit exposure on exactly what you just referenced, the $32 leisure ticket from Dallas to Nashville. But while it limits their exposure for elites, again, those are the bread and butter of these airlines. And I still think that in those cases, I don't think the behavior of the airline is going to change, in that they're going to look at what their competitors are doing. I mean, you remember back in the day, United used to give you a hotel room for one case used to get a hotel room even if it was a weather delay. And then, that policy has been diluted because they were the only ones doing it. And they realized they didn't need to offer that much. So I think as a whole, each of the airlines is going to continue to try and cover their butt and protect their top elite folks so they don't go somewhere else. So I don't think this changes much for folks with status. I think it's further reinforcement that you're going to be treated, if you buy a ticket that's a price match to Spirit Airlines, you're going to be treated like you flew Spirit Airlines.
Right.
And what do you think? What do you think would happen if the U.S., and I believe it would never happen, went to a European style system of compensation and codifying compensation like EU 261? Do you think? What do you think about something like that? I mean, I don't see it ever happening, but it's pretty interesting because the European protections are pretty amazing.
Yeah, they are. I think, I mean, they've obviously got a different legal floor underneath a lot of those policies. And I think, that's definitely an area that Charlie can probably speak to more than I can. I think ultimately, I just, the problem is I just don't see an avenue where the government would go down that path, given the role that airlines play here and just how intermingled they are in other areas. I mean, we look at the size of the bailouts that they were given so far during the pandemic. I think it would just be tough for the government to try to foist something like that on the airlines. But Charlie may have more to say on that.
Yeah, I think with deregulation and everything that's happened in the U.S. and the way it's gone, I just don't see the pendulum swinging that far back. And I think we are going to be more, we're going to see more airlines doing what American is doing, and just, aligning their contract of carriage with the minimum they want to support or provide is in IROPS and other things like that. I mean, it's one reason people fly for status, right? I mean, you get it when something goes wrong, your phone call's picked up first. You get that seat before someone else does. I think they're still going to do that. I don't know how they could get away from just, dropping top tier elites and not getting them where they're going in, 3 days, which is what's happened with a number of other airlines recently. So.
Yeah, I think that right now it's obviously we're going to see how this is going to really play out when demand is completely back. Right now, there's a lot of disruptions and canceled flights and moving flights and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think it's not a good time to judge how this is going to play out. But I'm gonna go out there and say that since we are not able to even get hotels legislated, so they are giving us the same legislation that are with airlines now, that they have to give you the complete price, the all-inclusive price is the only thing they're allowed to market on the U.S. website. We can't even get hotels to make them mandatory to get rid of all those junk fees that they're sticking you with right now, which I absolutely hate. And there's even more creative things and that is happening on that. But I honestly, if they can't do that, they're not going to do an EU 261 type style of legislation, even though it's actually needed, because like Gary Leff, our friend that writes View from the Wing, he's always maintained that, the U.S. carriers are the most subsidized of all carriers. There are shortcuts that are not even close to being legal in the EU that we are getting here. And the pandemic has showed us that Lufthansa, who was bailed out by the government of Germany, the government of Germany owns 28% of Lufthansa for the $10 billion euros that they got. Here, they literally got a handout. The taxpayers with the only thing that they had to do was to keep people on payroll for X amount of months, and that's it. That's the only strings attached to that money, which is the biggest bailout that any airline has gotten. Any of the countries have given to airlines by far. So I honestly think that the regulation should be there, especially because when you have an airline like American who really doesn't care if their flights are delayed. I mean, they just have so many technical issues on a regular basis. It needs to be done. If you can't, the way that I read this, if I was on JetBlue and I miss a connection to JetBlue, American is not liable for their mistakes. That's just really, when you have partnerships and they sell the ticket, it's under an American ticket stock, and they are not liable to rebook you or to, help you out if you're, for days. That obviously, like you said, Ed, that's a really good point, actually, that maybe that this is coming about now because of the liability between airlines, that there's more things to these close partnership now that the networks are combined and so much bigger. I think that it's hard to say, but anyways. So Michael, that's all that we covered for today. We're going to head into chatting.
Thanks for having me.
For joining
It's
again.
always a pleasure.
Appreciate it, man.
I shaved today too. So,
wow! Congratulations.
It happens every once in a while. Yeah, I know.
I'm going to wear a mask all weekend, even in bed. So I'm in Dallas. So I'm not.
Okay, well, keep us posted. We'll have a safe weekend and have a great week, guys.
Always
Take
care.
care.
Take care.
Hey, Michael.
So yeah, we have some interesting topics that we've talked about that we've prepared a little bit to talk about today. So what interests you, Ed, and what have you found that's interesting in the last week or two?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, there's two things. I think that the Radisson Hotel promo that's out right now certainly reminds me of the olden days of Hyatt's Faster Free Nights, which we begged and begged and begged for years to come back as one of the greatest hotel promos of all time. It's certainly more limited, but the basis of the promo, as you so eloquently put it, we were talking earlier, was stay at 2 hotels in the U.S. between now and I think end of November and earn a free night for early 2022. And the twist on this, which is different than what Faster Free Nights was back in the day, is that these are award stays. So if you redeem points right now, Radisson's going to give you a free night next year. And I think the only real hitch with this is that there are probably not a ton of folks sitting on a big Radisson Rewards balance, but I really love the creativity to try and get people out and staying again on behalf of these hotels.
I agree. I think that that was good Lord Almighty. How many nights at the Park Hyatt Vendôme have I gotten from that old Hyatt offer? I think that's for and also I had I'm not going to mention the hotel by name, but in the Chicago suburbs, I had an agreement with a GM who booked me in on a AAA day rate for $49. And I didn't even have to go there. That was a beautiful thing. And he took my money happily when they were not busy. So because he could sell the room twice. But the promo is, I agree, it's really creative. So the way that it works is that they have categories. So 1, 2, through 3 categories, you obviously get a free night within 1 through 3 category as well. And then 4, 5 gives, if you redeem in 4, 5, you get 1 through 5. So looking at what they have here in the US, they really don't have that many category 4s and 5. It's a lot of country inns and suites that are in the lower area of hotel standards.
Well put.
Yeah, you got to think about that one.
Just trying to be nice. They're good people at Radisson up in Minnesota. They're good people, and I have a long-standing relationship with them from back in the day when I started out as a business traveler in my 20s after I was in the military. I started in the telco world, and I stayed at the Radisson Portman, which is it used to be a Radisson SAS hotel. Back in those days when I started up, the Radisson SAS hotels were SAS Royal hotels before, and then they became Radisson SAS hotels. They were pretty high up there. I mean, it was interesting because that was when the internet was kind of starting up, and it wasn't going to be a big thing, but they had checking in the lobby. So when you came downstairs, they checked in. They had a conveyor belt where you put your bag on. If you didn't want to have your carry-on through the thing, they would take it to the airport for you, and they would give you a boarding pass then and there. It was a SAS dude that checked you in and took your bags to the airport, and I used that a lot. But obviously here in the U.S., it's historically, it's the Carlson hotels are a little bit on the lower end of the range, and but there's an opportunity here to get some good stuff out of it but you obviously need to have some Radisson points then to redeem.
Yeah, and there's not a ton of great transfer ways to transfer points in. So this is really for folks who have been staying with Radisson, sort of rewarding them and also trying to induce them to get back out and stay.
Right.
But I think Charlie will agree with me that I really think the headline here is that there was a time where you used to check a suitcase. I'm still kind of stumped by this. You would check a bag. I need to understand more about this.
No, but I think that back then it wasn't kind of like it is now, because bags didn't cost money to check, so people didn't bring throws on the plane, and it was the thing was that I stayed in London from I flew in on Monday morning and I stayed at that hotel. I remember I always had, we upgraded to a room with a fax machine, Mr. Danielsen. So it was a long time ago. And I had the fax in my room, and it cost probably like $10 to send a page or whatever. But who cares when you work for a big telecommunications company? So, but I actually, when I went down and I went in the office, I didn't want to bring my carry-on, so I just left it there. And they were just so fast back in those days; it didn't even matter. It was instead of dragging the bag to my office, I took my laptop case and I went to do the thing and did my thing and went straight to the airport. And when I went in Oslo, you know, with the small airport and how efficient they used to be, that was kind of a gig. So, but looking at the prices, it looks like cash and points is also available for redemption, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and you could, I mean, looking at what you need in cash and points, it's 25,000 for the highest category, which is pretty. I think that it's not very hard to get that, right? You can see you get the Radisson offering $7,000 per night, the promo when you're paying, right? You can earn up to 70,000. There is a very decent Radisson Blue on Champs-Élysées. Very nice little boutique, 70, 80 rooms. Stay there a couple of times before I got into Hyatt after moving here. And it's a beautiful hotel. It's definitely a solid 5-star and a great location. You got the Maldives also, which is category 5 as well. They've got I don't know if they opened that. They've got one by Piazza San Marco that also a Radisson Blue that was
nice. I didn't know that
they took over. So there are some good stuff outside in Europe, of course, not here. So I think that if I spend, for example, 100,000 points, then, you know, I'd get a couple of nights. I think it would be worth it. I think I'm actually going to do this one because I think have a stash.
Yeah, I think how I would play this if I wasn't deep on Radisson points, which I'm not, is if this was appealing to you, I would say, hey, maybe Radisson becomes your business travel hotel for the next couple of months because this promotion runs through the end of the year. You earn some points in some
country Inn and suite. Are you crazy?
Well, some people will.
Well, you know, everyone that wanted high globalist status probably already has it for next year, so they got some.
Right, they can pivot.
Spread that love around.
But yeah, you spend some money.
Spend some money with them now. The Radisson Rewards credit cards are due for they're the only travel credit card in the world that still charges foreign transaction fees. I remember I learned that the hard way when I paid the bill for the loyalty summit for 22,000 British pounds God, it's not 2 years ago. I paid with a card and I was charged like $700 in fees.
Nice.
And so obviously it's a drawer card. You get it and you put it in the drawer, and the sign up bonus is 85,000. So that would give you a gig. What's the spending? $2,500 within 90 days. So it's not a big spend requirement. And you get also the gold status, and the gold status gives you business class upgrades around Europe, which means free breakfast. I've never not been given a business class room. So, I mean, it's not for everybody, like you said, but I think that it's good to see some creativity.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about our dear friend, Brian Kelly. Brian. I texted with him this morning. Actually, to congratulate him on his, to be honest with you, I knew he was in Pennsylvania and he was out in the woods, but I thought he was doing something, maybe staying with his parents during COVID and stuff. But it seems like he has, you know, really, did you guys read that article?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So he sold his place in Florida. I knew that. I knew he was talking about getting rid of his place in Manhattan. So he did actually get rid of that. I have to be honest. Delaware River Towns. Is that even a magazine? But I guess it is. Is it famous, or am I missing something here? Or
there are a lot of regional magazines like this that are supported by ads.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to flip through like 14 pages to even of
Yeah,
ads
you got to go
get the table
towards the end.
contents.
We still have to look at this. This is cool. But he is going to have a couple of kids, maybe 3, which is for a single guy. Well, we all, everybody. I don't know. I know Ed. No, I remember you. Do you remember, Ed, the first time you and I met him?
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Yep.
So
that was.
This was back in it
2012.
was like, who the F is this guy?
The 2012.
And it's like we have a lot of friends out there who is extremely careful with money, and that's kind of our sphere of. Those are our peeps. And when we were putting on and Ed was the grand master of that event. It's a gorgeous event that we hosted at Citi Fields, the home of the New York Mets, back in the day. This was in 2000 and
I think it was 2012.
2011, because 12 was when we brought the Freddies back. So it was 11. And I got an email from this. Usually it's like you get from somebody on Flyer Talk saying, "Hey, Randy, let us go for free to the Freddies. Are you going to invite me too?" And I was like, yeah, I'm not a Texas oil millionaire or so I'm not going to do that. But you can come if there's room and whatever, right? So we try to accommodate everybody. But all of a sudden, I get this email from this guy Brian Kelly, the points guy, and I was like, went to his website, and it looked kind of like I had made it or something. And I started reading it, and the guy was actually very engaging, and I instantly liked him. And he said, "I see you're having the awards at Citi Fields. Can I buy some tickets to my readers to the awards?" And I was like, "What? You want to buy tickets? You want to spend money?" And that made me. And you remember, we made a decision. We invited him for free because he asked so nicely. So we had a table for his readers at the FT Awards. And here we are with, getting up in the morning every day. And our friend, who I couldn't be more happy for, is retiring at, how old is he? 35 or 4? Is he coming up on 40 now?
That's a good question. I know he's younger than us old bucks, but I don't remember exactly how old.
You shouldn't bring me into the
yeah, I can see the gray in you.
But I think he's in his upper 30s now. I'm quite sure that he is. Let's
you want to go to page 76.
All right, I'm going to come back. We're almost there. So he here we go.
There we go.
So this is like your family in New York, Ed, right? This is like the gangsters of New York. They have the Mona Lisa in their house. Not in this sense, but it kind of looks like it a little bit, right? A little bit more classy, maybe.
It's funny. Well, can I go way off the rails since you're talking about Citi Field? All right. Yeah. So for the folks that are listening who weren't there, there was a joke told that night that still lives in infamy and was never recorded. Robert Wool was our host, who was Arliss and a couple other shows, and he kept telling jokes that made every airline executive horribly uncomfortable. And if you remember, it was a horrible night for storms, so there were a bunch of people that couldn't get there. So he was telling these jokes, and the airline and hotel executives were visibly uncomfortable because there was some sexual innuendo and stuff like that. And at one point, he rattled off his American Airlines Advantage number. And it was all numbers. And he's like, "I've been an American Airlines guy for forever and ever. Like, hey, you know what you guys need to figure out? You guys need to figure out how to earn miles for having sex, because my wife would totally love this." And so there's the only people laughing in the room are frequent flyers and nobody else. All the other executives are just horribly pale. So at the time, you'll remember, the person running the Advantage program was a dear friend of ours, Maya Liebman.
Right.
And that they were accepting a legacy award that year. And so much later in the evening, probably an hour later, Maya comes up on stage to accept the award. And she says, "By the way, Robert, I heard you rattle off your American Airlines number when you were up here before. I noticed it was all numbers with no letters. So I know that means you were a member of the program for a long time, and we really appreciate your patronage. And because of the weather tonight, none of my PR folks are in the building, so I can comfortably say that as soon as I get back to Dallas, we're going to work on this Miles for Sex thing for you. And you could have heard a pin drop in that room, other than the geeks in the back laughing. Every airline executive was like, "Wait, did she just say that?"
Yeah, that was cool. Oh my God, Maya was she's such a badass. I love her too. No, but it was a hell of a trip. And just Brian is in our seriousness, he's seen he's pulling back and he's moving into the woods, and his stress level is going down, and I'm sure he's super happy. And I couldn't be more happy for him. It looks like he's finally found a place that that he loves to live in the woods, and he needs to get. I see that's a Thermidor behind there, the range that he has. With the kind of money that he has, that he doesn't have a wolf. That is just a little pathetic, I think, to be honest with you. I need to text him and tell him to change out that cheap stuff and put a wolf in instead, and also get a Sub-Zero. But because I think that in the background is definitely not a Sub-Zero, but it's also something
that oven would not even fit in my kitchen. Like,
yeah, no, I couldn't be more happy for Brian. He's a hell of a guy. He's done a lot for charity. We love him to death, and I like it when guys like that really succeed. And just being there from the beginning and seeing how poor we still are and how rich he is, doing kind of a lot of the same things. He's just very focused, and he works hard. I'm not saying that we're not working hard, but well, Charlie is a lawyer, so it's obviously he doesn't work very much. But yeah, that's it's cool, and I think that it's awesome that he. You get a little that he's found something with COVID that I didn't expect to see. I mean, for me, I personally cannot wait to get out of this, this run and get out. There's so many things we want to do. I want to go to Tokyo. I want to go to Italy. I wanted to go to Italy again. I want to go to 3 times to Italy. But Brian he's chilling. He's having kids, and he's got dogs, and he's got more dogs, and he's got horses. And also, if you read it, I love it. He bought a piece of property like a couple of miles away from where his house is, where so he has lake. I don't know. I don't
river.
know.
River.
But there's the Delaware River goes there, right? So he needed to have some riverfront. So he has a few miles away. He bought a few acres. So he has his horses. So that's, and he calls it BK Beach. That's cool. I love this shit. I think it's awesome. I just think it's amazing. So that was him. So Charlie, you were talking about an event coming up next weekend.
Yeah. Next weekend is Cranky Flyer Dork Fest, which is a great little short, I guess 3-4 hour long event down at the In and Out at LAX airport, or I should say the very, very small park across the street from the In and Out. It's basically a 100 foot by 100 foot patch of grass with some trees right off the end of the runways at LAX, and it started out a bunch of av geeks, but lots of miles and points people are there. I think a lot of podcasters. My second favorite podcasters next to Ed Pizza are usually there. The Dots, Lines, and Destinations folks are there. Anyway, you get together, you have milkshakes, hamburgers, and French fries. You watch the heavies come in. Well, all right. So maybe not so many heavies this year, but you usually watch the airplanes come in.
No, the international flights are there for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. They most definitely are.
Yeah. So you hang out usually in the sun because September in LA is nice. And right. Not last year, but 2019, I took my oldest son down with me. And Oscar Munoz showed up.
Really?
And he was taking pictures with anyone that wanted them, and he would chat a little bit. There was some college football discussion because he's a USC guy, and usually there's some swag given away. There's a little raffle, and I think I got a pair of American Airlines socks in 2019. So that was pretty, who else has a pair of American Airlines socks? Anyway,
they were cleaned a little bit better than their planes.
they were.
But I think that if you're in LA this week, not this weekend, but the following weekend, I think that's a good gig, and you don't have this doesn't cost anything, and it's just like-minded people. I'm sure they will be social distancing well and being smart about it. So I've heard good things. I haven't been myself, but it sounds like a good gig. Are you going to go?
Yeah. I'm actually planning a whole trip to visit some. I'm tying it in with a work trip, so I'm going down to visit a client and some coworkers, and then heading down to LA Friday morning. So I'll be there Friday to pregame, and then I'll be there Saturday.
So deposition and double. That's going to be your cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the other story you found for this for this week. And we predicted this, or you guys weren't on the show back then, but I predicted it about a month ago. We've heard feedback from airlines that bookings are not after the whole summer spread neck outings that were happening throughout the thing, and the Delta thing obviously put, not Delta Airlines, but the Delta variant put a damper on it. It seems like it's alarm. We're talking alarming bookings right now. So tell us a little bit about that, Charlie. What was reported today or a couple of days ago?
Yeah, it was just a couple of days ago. But so Cranky Flyer, Brett does a kind of rundown where he runs some software to figure out what all the changes are in schedules in the future. And the biggest takeaway here, I thought, was Delta and the Caribbean. This year, the Caribbean and Mexico is like a really big destination for Americans, and Delta's apparently cutting all their flights from Detroit. So there will be no Caribbean flights to Detroit and this is next summer. So wow. That's kind of surprising to me. I would have expected that to hold on, until we really know COVID's gone. I suspect a lot of people, are still trying to book shorter flights that, we can't, it's hard to get over the Atlantic or the Pacific. But for some reason they're pulling back. So I can't really explain it, but that was kind of surprising to me.
Interesting. So what have did you monitor this at all, Ed?
Well, I wonder with things like this, it's just like, let's take this as an example. If Delta's pulling down the Caribbean, like, where are those planes going? Like, that's really what I think. Like, we know with airlines that it's a zero-sum game. So if the plane isn't flying to the Caribbean, it's either flying to a desert to get parked, or it's flying somewhere else. And we know that they pulled down a ton of international travel that was just wasn't feasible, so they could fly things like the Caribbean, fly things like Cancun and stuff like that. So I totally get where they might say, hey, let's consolidate this, and we'll send all the people who used to go from Detroit to the Caribbean, we'll send them to Minneapolis first, or something like that. But then where are they putting these planes? And that's what I haven't figured out from what Brett wrote is, hey, like, with the size of Delta's fleet, which is pretty massive, I can't imagine with where they are in their fleet that they're parking these planes. So I haven't figured that piece of this out, which is confusing.
Right. No, I think that, we're coming in the school season, and as expected, the demand would drop. Honestly, I think that the Delta variant has put a damper, and looking at what major companies are doing when it comes to office policy and business travel, and who's taking meetings and who are not taking meetings. That seems to have changed a lot in the last, 3-4 weeks. So, and unfortunately, I think it's going to be a tough fall. Unfortunately, like we talked about right after the Delta variant came out, we were feeling that throughout the thing for the FTU in Dallas. I mean, so for the last FTU we had was in DC. It was sold out almost a month before, and we oversold it also to get room. And literally that was March of 2020, the first weekend. So that was like the 8th and the 9th, I think it was. So Melinda and I got on the flight, and crazily enough, we got upgraded to Polaris on a 777 from Dulles to how about that? Of course it was empty. Yeah. So that was Monday. We flew Polaris to LA. We got home, and 3 days later, boom, the world was closed on the 13th. So that was so now we literally had under 20 tickets for people who wanted to go, and so we moved it until April of next year. The appetite's not there for and then also then business travel was supposed to carry the airlines throughout the fall, and that's just not happening now.
Yeah,
right.
and Brett even talks about, I think he was in scheduling and pricing and stuff like that in his earlier part of his career, and he mentions in the comments, which is probably getting a bit too much in the weeds, but he mentioned that like changes like this they usually would have already been accounted for if it was just normal seasonal change, and the fact that they're removing between 3 and like 8 or 9% of flights across the board is significant. So
Fort Dodge 12 times weekly service from Chicago goes down to 1 daily. Wow.
Yeah,
that is nuts. So let's we're almost at the top of the hour. We are on the top of the hour. Let's quickly go through what I would say is a decent news for those who have a lot of Amex membership rewards currency hanging around. We're talking some big bonuses here when you transfer your Amex points over to airlines. I don't know how savvy our audience is, but if you're an FTU, you obviously know about all this stuff. But for others, I would say that the Amex membership rewards, and who depends on who you ask, but the currency Amex membership rewards is obviously the most flexible, alongside with Chase Ultimate Rewards. But Ed, you picked this one this week. What do you think? Are you taking advantage of any of these offers?
No pun intended, advantage.
Exactly.
I think if folks are looking to take advantage of these, I think that there's a few that I would target. And, Lucky talks about some of them, but I'll start with one that he didn't really focus on a ton. And I think that's the Virgin opportunity. He notes it, but I think more importantly, there's an article, and I should have linked this, an article that our friend Gilbert from God Save the Points wrote recently about using Virgin Atlantic Flying Club points to upgrade. So if you're buying a premium economy ticket, using it to get upper class on Virgin Atlantic.
Yep.
So I think that's a really solid strategy for Virgin Atlantic Flying Club points. Find a good premium economy fare and then use your Virgin Atlantic Flying Club points to upgrade. So that's something I've thought about transferring speculatively, meaning I don't have the flight picked out yet. I'm not traveling internationally right now, just with all the COVID stuff, but I would consider parking some points there for future affordable upgrades on paid premium economy tickets. I think that that's a worthwhile bet, especially because I don't think their program's changing anytime soon. And then I think the other one to really seriously consider is Aeroplan. I mean, I think I've seen bigger bonuses than this for transfers to Aeroplan. But just generally speaking, if I was thinking about transferring something without a particular trip in mind, I think the fact that they just reworked their program last year, and they're really proud of what they built, I think that means that if you see a value you like now, it's going to be there next year or the year after. And I think there are a lot of values to see there, from family pooling of miles to the combination of zones and distance-based awards. I think there's a lot going on at Aeroplan to like. So, and I think also too, when I think about, for folks, like as you say, we've got FTU experts that really know how to maximize things. But if you're not really sure how to handle an international redemption from an international airline, I look at Airplan as a gateway drug, if you will. It's not American or United or Delta. It's an international program, but it's a way to start learning how to use flexible currencies with an airline that you might not otherwise have considered. And from there, well, then you can jump to Air France or British or something like that. But I think, the British Airways website and the Air France website is a heck of a lot more complicated than the Air Canada Aeroplan website.
Yeah, they did a good job of doing it. I see also the joke of the guys here. The Alitalia, you could transfer over to Mille Miglia, which you can do that, or you could wipe your ass with your miles. It'd be about the same, since they're shutting down in a couple of weeks, or about a month. So that's interesting that they still kept them on there. But looking at this thing, and I think that we see these transfer offers fairly often. But what's unique this time around, that there's so many partners that are jumping on at the same time. I don't think I've ever seen that. I think the sweet spot you mentioned, I'm taking advantage of that when I'm flying to the Loyalty Summit in London, and it's a little bit messed up because when you don't have a Saturday, they're selling one-way tickets in premium economy with Virgin Atlantic for $450 from LAX to London Heathrow. But on the return, it's about $3,000. So I have to find a way to get home. But But yeah, like you said, it's about $180 in taxes for that upgrade that you have to pay, plus a very, very small amount of points. So $450 for the ticket. I think it was like 25 or 30 or 40,000 points. It's a very, very low number. And with the 1,300, a 30% bonus on top, it's obviously a phenomenal deal. I think also Air France, KLM, I mean, they're booking straightforward availability is fairly easy. And I booked Melinda and I for 52,000 miles each, Air France from LA to Italy, fingers crossed. Yep. Which, obviously ended up being 80,000 membership rewards points one way in business class. And I would venture into saying that that's a definitive deal. And also you can see the last one I think that's worth mentioning here for sure is, British Airways, not the best value for sure, even if they do 1.4, same with the Iberia and Air Club for Aer Lingus. But ANA has got some sweet spots in Asia. And I think they've also now removed, Charlie, you remember we had that guy on the show, on the FTU here a few months ago when you were also there instructing. I think they have now abandoned the one ways, right? So you can round trip, so you can do one way now.
Yeah.
And they've definitely got some sweet spots in Asia. So yeah, I think this is something to take advantage of. That there's happening and I completely agree with that they're not going to hold your feet to the fire right now. You are the king, and they're not going to take away your miles or devalue. Well, they might devalue, but Virgin is safe. They just did a major shakedown right before in the beginning of the pandemic. So I think that's a really good play.
Yeah, no, I actually speculatively sent some stuff to Flying Blue recently, and nice. I'm hoping they bring back some of their monthly offers in business class.
What equipment are they using on Seattle? Do they have the 772 or the 773?
I don't recall. I actually did it because I'm thinking I'm going to make it to St. Martin, and I want to fly back to Seattle via Europe.
Oh, cool.
There you go. Like everybody does.
Of course. My mistake. That's what to expect, of course.
Yeah.
Right. So check it out. Lucky had it. The article was written a couple of days ago, the 6th. So check it out back on 1 Mile at a Time. He has a really good overview. And also, I do think that Ed's sweet spot is definitely with the bonus you're getting from Virgin with 30% extra miles is definitely. I completely agree. He found the sweet spot that's worth. Buy the premium economy and upgrade to business class. And the new Virgin Atlantic business class I haven't tried it yet, but I've heard that it's supposed to be phenomenal. The seat.
Good.
All right. I think that is a wrap of the day. See if we got any comments. Okay. Nope. I think that for those coming out in Dallas, find us. It's a small group of people. We're not planning on doing anything social this weekend. For obvious reasons in Dallas, it's kind of a little bit difficult, but come say hello if you're going to be there. We are hanging around at the FTU stage at the Travel and Adventure Show at the Dallas Market Hall. If you want to try and I know that a lot of the speakers are giving away free tickets, and also if you're an FTU annual member, you also get free access. Just contact us by close of business tomorrow so we can issue those tickets to us. And if you don't make it on time, just contact us directly and we'll see what we can do, because I think it'll be quiet this weekend. But thanks for joining us again this week. And thanks to absolutely to Ed, and also to Charlie for pinch hitting for Marshall, who had a work thing. Doesn't he work for the government? It's after 6 o'clock. What the hell? He did something going on here. Thanks, guys, for joining us as always, and I'll see you Ed in a couple of weeks. And there you go. Thanks, guys.
Take care, guys.
All right, that was another show number 4 in the book. A little bit over time today. We had a lot to talk about and very interesting guests also. I hope you are enjoying this hour with us talking FTU and a little trash talk. Well, there wasn't a lot of trash talk today, but there was lots of fun stuff going on. And if you have any idea or things that you want us to talk about, bring it up on the next show around. Feel free to send me an email at tommy@ft.events or tommy@ftuniversity.com. And we will make sure to bring it up if it's appropriate. Enjoy your week and your weekend. And if you're in Dallas, coming into Dallas, stay safe. And I'll see you guys there.